Hi, my name is Kevin and I collect old irons. Foundries were very common in the late 1800s. I've seen no listing for the number of foundries, but judging by the names on flat irons and on the sat iron stands, there must surely have been more than 100. And most, if not all, of these foundries made old irons. So what we're going to do today is look at a few of the foundries that made a whole lot of old irons. We would have to start with the Enterprise Manufacturing Company of Philadelphia. This company was established in 1864 and continued until 1956. Enterprise was a big company that made coffee grinders, sausage stuffers, food grinders, tobacco cutters, lawn sprinklers, and the list goes on and on. And that was just for the Philadelphia foundry. There were other associated Enterprise factories in Augusta, Georgia, and Akron, Ohio, which made fishing lures and so forth. I have here an Enterprise Mrs. Potts sat iron and stand. The name Enterprise is prominently shown on the base, also on the handle. Enterprise never missed a chance to advertise, and on the stand as well. Enterprise was by far the most prolific of the sat iron makers, particularly the Mrs. Potts style, and they were also the marketing geniuses of the time. Here, as an example, is the Enterprising Housekeeper, a cookbook from 1897 that of course showcases the many various food choppers, shredders, peelers, pitters, pressers. Yes, illustrations of all these in the cookbook. And let us just take a moment to admire sleeve fashion for the time. Notice the sleeves worn by both the mother and the daughter. And this is in the kitchen. And there were the trade cards. Enterprise published trade cards for much of the wide range of things that the foundry made. We will talk at a later time about the sat iron trade cards, but suffice it to say that it was Enterprise Manufacturing that made Mrs. Potts the second most famous woman in the world. The interesting thing to me about the Enterprise Manufacturing Company is while they were extremely prolific in manufacturing the Mrs. Potts cold handle sat irons, and also the Star double-pointed flat irons, this particular one being a polishing iron, their name is not to be found at all on any of the more traditional flat iron shaped irons or any other sat irons at all for that matter. And I think the reason for this is what Enterprise did was delegated that manufacture to another company near to them in Philadelphia, and that was the Colebrookdale Iron Company. The more general term Colebrookdale comes from the style of furnace, the Colebrookdale blast furnace, note the slightly different spelling, of Shropshire, England. This was in a very active area for cast iron manufacture of every description, iron bridges for example, in England. To my knowledge, the American group in Pennsylvania did not have any direct relationship with the English Colebrookdale, but this was certainly a prestigious name to borrow. The Colebrookdale Iron Company began selling sat irons in 1852. The town of Colebrookdale, current population about 5,000, is adjacent to Boyertown, PA, and one does see Boyertown on some irons and iron stands of that period as well. The Colebrookdale catalog of 1917 includes 20 pages of various irons, flat, detachable handle, toy, tailor irons, you name it. These include products of the previously separate Streeter and Keystone companies. Colebrookdale was either buying up other companies or was selling molds to them, as the Colebrookdale type flat irons have all kinds of different markings. Colebrookdale had a number of trademarks. The most commonly seen is the C in a shield, and we'll also show while we're at the Colebrookdale stand. You'll also notice the cross-hatched handle, and that's very common on the Colebrookdale flat irons. You see it on this one as well. Here, instead of the C with a shield, you have an asterisk, and there were various letter combinations such as XX and DX and so forth. Colebrookdale also was a prolific manufacturer of the Mrs. Potts style handles, and here too you have the C with the shield on it. This particular base, patented 1897, I'm not sure if this was a Colebrookdale product at all, but it does, or at least came with this handle, and the handle fits very well. And I think what may well have happened is that Colebrookdale sold the stamped stretcher plates for these handles to all kinds of other manufacturers. One of the other foundries that made Mrs. Potts irons was Bless & Drake, originally under license, and then once the license expired, under its own name. Bless & Drake, of course, is most notably known for the Bless & Drake coal iron. It says here Bless & Drake, patented 1852, and this style of coal iron was being marketed for more than half a century. But Bless & Drake also marketed this particular detachable handle iron, which included this interesting bentwood handle. Here is a trade card that marketed that iron. This may be the only detachable iron trade card not done by Enterprise. I have seen these cards on eBay for circa $15 or $20, but you'll also see these for $35 or more. Let the buyer beware. I have picked up a number of trade cards over the years, but have learned to be patient. But Bless & Drake did all kinds of irons, including this sleeve iron that we've seen earlier, and did various stands that are very common. We've seen this one. This was associated with the coal irons, and then this was associated with many of the other irons they did, B&D for Bless & Drake. Another foundry that produced diverse flat irons was the WAPA Collar Company of Wapakoneta, Ohio. WAPA produced in particular skillets, and these have a Indian logo on the bottom and are very highly sought after by the skillet collectors. The WAPA irons have WAPA on the handle. This is on a sleeve iron. I have WAPA on two small flat irons, and the flat irons came in the full range of sizes. WAPA also occurs on the back of a Howell trivet, and that suggests that Howell was selling or offering these trivet molds in so that I guess for good advertising. The William H. Howell Company made irons from 1867 to 1923, but while Enterprise plastered its name all over anything that it did, William Howell was a bit more shy. The Howell Company was particularly well known for the Geneva fluter. Let's take a look at the Geneva fluter trade card again. Let's flip it over onto the back, and you'll see the Geneva fluter from Geneva, Illinois, Kane County, no name of the manufacturer. He did show the name of the manufacturer on the Mrs. Potts style irons that they produced, but by and large elsewhere on flat irons, sleeve irons, polishing irons, they showed Geneva, Illinois on the handle, and then on the top of the base there would be a 5-pointed star. What Howell did do in terms of showing their name is they showed them on the trivets, and we can, judging by the number of trivets we can see that they sold a lot of irons. This particular design is most common, but this one here, a little bit less common. It reads the W.H. Howell Company, Geneva, Illinois, USA. But I would be remiss if I didn't tell you the rest of the story. In 1923, William Howell shifted to making cast iron furniture, and from there to making chrome hollow Art Deco styled furniture in the 1930s or so. including the grille design of the 1936 Chrysler Airflow, and after the war made an abundance of stylish chrome furniture for the kitchen, tables and chairs, which are very popular and now pretty widely sought after. The A.C. Williams Company had its beginnings in 1844 in Chagrin Falls, Ohio. The namesake for the company, Adam C. Williams, bought the company from his father in 1886. The company moved to Ravenna, Ohio in 1893 after a fire. This advertisement is from 1901, photographed from the Burney book, and states, "Largest line of sat irons from any manufacturer in the world." And there is quite a diversity of irons illustrated here. As with Howell, the irons seldom carry the Williams name, although you will often see the acronym ACW on the top of the flat irons. A.C. Williams also manufactured and sold Mrs. Potts style irons under license. But A.C. Williams has a distinction that none of the other foundries we've talked about so far has. The company is still in business and still has websites that give its past history. And herein lies a tale. In the mid-1890s, the Williams Company lost the contract for selling Mrs. Potts irons to the Enterprise Company, and thus was on its own. It wanted to stay in business, so what it did was it had a line of stuff, including irons, and it decided to sell these through door-to-door salesmen. But irons and this other stuff was very heavy, and so the Williams Company made salesman samples. And the salesman went out, and they came back wildly successful. Not selling the full-size irons, they had huge numbers of orders for the salesman samples, which of course the housewives were buying as toys. The light bulb went off, so to say, and in that time there was light bulbs. And the Williams Company went into the mass production of toy irons. As we can see in this ad, again from the Burney book, showing what the Williams Company was marketing in the late 1890s and early 1900s. Any iron collector can recognize the irons illustrated here. They were produced in wild numbers, very common. Individually, these are $8, $10 a piece, if that. And Williams then went on to do other toys. They were famous for cast iron banks, cast iron cars, trucks, motorcycle policemen, and so forth through the 1920s, 1930s. They now continue doing casting work on magnesium and aluminum to this day. So these are some of the major players amongst foundries that produced sat irons. And with that, I'm going to bid you adieu. But if you will, go ahead and subscribe to this channel so you can get heads up when we produce more videos, or you can send me an email and I'll put you on my distribution list. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. Thank you.